I'm hoping that by now in your life you have come to understand what these little bars mean. Those are absolute value bars, and I think most people encounter them by the time they take the SAT. They might be a little confused about how they work, but remember, they're basically just going to give you two possibilities, one about positives and one about negatives. And so I'll get into the specifics in a second, but this is an easier question. We're in the easy module. We're still near the first half of the section, so you can kind of just do this as if those didn't exist at all. Think of a number that would get you 10 here. If we did x equals 15, then 15 minus 5, and yeah, I'll put the absolute values, is equal to 10, right? The absolute value of 10 is 10. So that's the probably easiest way to think about it, easiest way to do it, and yes, that is a valid answer, 15. If you wanted to solve this more algebraically, you would need to take this absolute value equation and turn it into two different equations. So the first one is the easy one that most people do, and we kind of just did, would be x minus 5 equals 10. So we create an equation literally just by ignoring the absolute values, and then we would add 5 to each side, and we would get x equals 15. There we go. The other equation would be, well, we can still have x minus 5. But what absolute value bars do is they take whatever is inside of them and they make them positive. So they're basically like parentheses where we have to do whatever's inside first. But once we do it, whatever result we get is going to become positive if it's negative. If it's positive, it stays positive. So in other words, whatever we could, inside of those absolute value bars, we could have had two things. We could have had the number 10, which we showed, or we could have had the number negative 10. Because the absolute value of negative 10 is also 10. And so we can create another equation that reflects that possibility by dropping the absolute value bars and just doing x minus 5 is equal to negative 10. Now, if we follow the rules of algebra, we're still going to add 5 to both sides, and we're going to get negative 5, and that is another answer here, negative 5. So both of those are fine. Those are the only two answers. If you were still confused by the absolute value, if you were really just like, I don't know what's going on, some of you think that like what it does is it makes anything that is a negative inside positive. Like, so you turn this into, and then to be clear, this is incorrect, this is bad. You'll turn this into x plus 5 is equal to 10. In this case, yeah, that's not going to work, so you will get the wrong answer if you do that. But that's not how absolute values work at all. They don't just turn any negatives positive. It has to be the final result. It has to be the final thing. But we do have one other possibility here. We have the calculator, the Desmos calculator, and it does have absolute value bars. Look, it's this A with the two lines in the bottom left here. If I hit that, it's going to put those up, and then I can do x minus 5, like I did, and then I'll come out of them, and I'll do an equals, and it was 10, so let's put that, and 10. And what it's doing here is, because there's no y, it's basically solving the equation for us. It's kind of like one of those apps on your phone where you take a picture of the equation and it solves it. It's doing that here, and that's what this straight line is it's representing the value of x, and it's in this case representing the negative 5. So remember, that was one of our answers, so that's something you could just bubble now having seen it. The other answer we'd have to scroll for is here, and there it is at 15. So it's a pretty reliable method to sometimes just enter these things in a calculator and see what happens. It'll give you the answers and you can solve it. I do think, though, in this case, it's just as fast to know what absolute value is and just solve it the normal way, but you can always use the calculator to check.